Alright, this is Saul Martinez, and this is my John Marshall project. The case I chose was Osborne v. Bank of the United States. Quick case intro. The petitioner was Ralph Osborne. The respondents were the Bank of the United States. It was argued March 9th, March 11th, February 10th, February 11th of 1824. It was decided on March 19th, 1824. And the question was, did the Federal Circuit Court's assertion of jurisdiction over the case, which involved an action commenced against the state of Ohio, violate the 11th Amendment? After the end of the First Bank of the United States in 1811, it wasn't until 1815 that the president of the time, James Madison, proposed the Second Bank of the United States as part of his economic plan. And 1 year later, 1816, the Second Bank of the United States was funded. However, just like its predecessor, the Second Bank caused a lot of controversy. When the United States experienced a brief financial depression known as the Panic of 1819, many blamed the Second Bank, accusing it of engaging in excessive speculation related to the nation's westward expansion. The bank would print large amounts of paper money to issue loans for the purchase of land. When land prices fell, the bank was forced to demand repayment of those loans, sending many into bankruptcy. During that, the Panic of 1819, in February of 1819, the state of Ohio decided to pass a statute declaring that the bank was operating within the state in contrast to the state laws. And unless the bank suspended operations before September 15th, the state would impose upon it a tax of $100,000. However, the U.S. Circuit Court issues an injunction prohibiting the state auditor, Ralph Osborne, from carrying out the terms of the act. Nevertheless, the state ignores this, and Osborne's agent, John Harper, proceeds to the nearest bank branch and collected the tax by seizing $100,000. Then the Second Bank of the United States decides to sue Osborne and Harper to return the funds. Then the defendants appealed to the Supreme Court of the United States. And among the arguments they made were whether there was a jurisdictional issue under Article 3. The ruling was a 6-1 decision, and the Supreme Court held that the Circuit Court properly ruled against Ohio officials and that the Ohio tax law was repugnant to the Constitution. The court held that the 11th Amendment was limited to suits in which a state was party on the record, and that Ohio was not the target of the suit in the case on hand. Osborne and his colleagues were thus, and I quote, incontestably liable for the full amount of the money taken out of the bank. In other words, the Supreme Court said that even though the defendant is acting on behalf of the state as a state official, they still have jurisdiction over this because it's caused by federal laws. Therefore, the courts have full authority over it. You hear that now and go, of course it's that way. But it wasn't clear in 1824 or 1819. Remember, this was before the 14th Amendment, before states stopped thinking of themselves as absolute sovereigns. It was at a time when the states believed that they had more authority and more control and more power than the federal government did, and they were determined to use that. And they saw this as an intrusion on their sovereignty, as an intrusion on their ability to tax things, and they weren't real happy about all that. But the verdict was made, and John Marshall, the great Supreme Court, made it very clear. And in essence, what he said was, it doesn't matter that this isn't a state versus whatever. What matters is that this is a federal law, and we have authority, we have jurisdiction over things that are caused by federal laws, and we therefore can rule in this case that That was the real question, whether or not they could and whether or not they had the power to force Osborne to return the funds. And this case ruling greatly increased the power of the federal government by widening its judicial authority in a very broad way. We've come to the end of my presentation. Hopefully I managed to explain this case. Hopefully I did in a clear way, and this is the Works Cited